are you?
I'm good, thank you. Tima, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. It's cold here. What's the weather like in Sydney?
It's becoming cold. Winter is coming early. It's just been here. It's starting to get cool now.
Have you been to New Zealand before?
Yes, I have. I've been to New Zealand 3 times.
Have you experienced our cold?
Yes, I have, and it's a different type of cold.
Oh yeah.
I went to New Zealand to watch a rugby match in Eden Park. As I stepped out, as soon as I stepped out, I felt the cold. I said, "Nah, I'm just watching the game at home."
Yeah. No, it gets really, really cold here. So, cool. And you're all good with your questions?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay. I apologize once again for calling you senior pastor. That was honestly, it's only because I saw you. I was following you. I follow your stories, and I saw that you had a place in the church and you were doing some work in the church. So I didn't want to assume you're a pastor, but I also wanted to be respectful and mindful. So I thought I'd message Tui and I'll say, and then he was like, yeah, of course, he's a senior pastor. He's such a. He was like, yeah, call him a senior pastor. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. I like to be respectful. Okay, cool. Not the case.
That's okay, all good.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so we'll get started and we'll just go with the flow. You're a good talker, I'm a good talker. I think this is going to go really well.
No worries.
Awesome. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, Sana Falava, everyone, and Vinaka. I am here with Cruz, and he is all the way in Sydney, and this is my first podcast that I've done in a couple of months, so I'm really excited. One of the reasons why I asked Cruz to jump on a podcast with me, and he was very lovely enough to give us his time, to give me his time, is because I always admire people who amplify the voices and stories of others, and just out of the kindness of their own hearts. Like, they don't expect anything out of it. They're just really interested in sharing stories. And so I thought I'd love to give other people the platform, other people who give others a platform as well, if that makes sense. So thank you, Cruz, for making time. I know you're all the way on the other side of the ocean, on the other beach, but you've made time. And so I'm really excited to have you. Thank you so much.
No worries. It's an honor.
Oh, awesome. So just before we begin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
You have the bragging rights. You have the bragging rights as well of being being on your of being the first person to interview me. So yeah.
Oh, really? That's amazing. I think it's amazing because you've got so many followers and so many people are impacted by your work. So I just assumed you were always getting interviews. So when I asked Tui, I was like, oh, if he's too busy, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. But you're here, so it's cool.
Thank you.
Cool. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, just in regards to the questions, thank you so much for sending me the questions. I appreciate it. So my full name is Maikali Cruz Balanavata Caudre. I am named after my grandfather. My first name named after my grandfather from my father's side, and the middle name, the long middle name Balanavata, that's from my grandfather from my mother's side. And after a show, a character on the show I think it was called Santa Rosa. So I think my mom was watching the show and she saw the name Cruz, and she said, "Oh, okay, this is a good name. I put that. I think I put that in the name as well." So that's my that's my full name. Born on the 24th of April, 1989, here in Sydney, Australia, at St. George Hospital. Thank you very much, Tima. I appreciate that. And on top of that, I migrated from the islands of Fiji around the late 70s and early 80s. On top of that as well, did my schooling here in Australia, from primary school all the way to high school. And currently right now, I'm doing university at the University of Western Sydney. I know maybe it's a late bloomer, but when age is just a number, nothing's impossible when you put your mind to it, when you can achieve to it, when you can believe to achieve. So yeah, that's my beginnings so far.
I love that. So I did my postgrad at age 27, and I enjoyed uni so much more when I went back at age 27. I was a lot more focused, and I was also working at the same time, so I was like straight to class, straight to work, as opposed to when I went to uni at 18, where I was just like work, class, smoke with friends, hang out with friends, do whatever, and then like not study.
Yep.
So good on you for going back to school.
Thank you very much, Tima. Appreciate that. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
So what was life like for you growing up?
Well, life for me growing up, especially being raised in the Fijian household, I wouldn't say that we struggled. You know, my mom and dad worked. We had a roof over our head, food on the table. Being the only child of the family, I was just thankful and blessed that my parents provided and met with my needs when it came to clothing, food on the table, especially entertainment. So back then, Nintendo or PlayStation. But with that sort of entertainment being introduced to me, my parents were very strict on me, or very trying to encourage me in schoolwork and in reading books. So by doing that, it helped me a lot, especially my vocabulary. And with schooling, it made me how can I say, learn things, especially mathematics, science, history, the basics in regards to primary education. And that is why till now, that is why I'm a big fan of education.
Yeah, and history in particular.
How? And it can help out. Yep, and it can help out. Can help out people. Further pursue their careers in any other field that they choose to go in.
Yeah.
So So in saying that as well, discipline was big. If I did misbehave, of course, with all islanders, those that are those weapons of mass destruction, whether it be the belt, yeah, that's it. Whether it be the belts or the wooden spoon or anything that mom and dad can get a hold of.
Yeah.
But I look back at it and it shaped me as the person I am today,
Yeah.
especially in regards to discipline.
Yeah.
Because it really made me sure that I respect my parents and honor my mother and father. So yeah.
Like it says in the Bible.
Yes, that's it. 100%.
What is your favorite pastime memory? I love these kinds. Because you're into history, when I was writing your questions, I thought, what are some history related questions that I can apply? What are some history? I don't know. How can I put your questions in like a history context? So if you could explain like what was a favorite pastime or favorite childhood memory, I think that'd be really cool.
Oh yeah, sure. My favorite childhood memory, of course, was hanging around the cousins back then. Especially when we cousins that are old now and they've got kids there of their own, and they're growing up, and it's like, man, that's the memories I cherish as a child. Going over to my cousin's place in Campsie or my cousin's place out west. I'm just hanging around, just playing. The thing back then was playing Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation. Not on top of that as well, certain protocol within the household of a Fijian household, respecting your elders. When you go walk past, you've got to say chilo or, excuse me. Those certain little things that I cherish because I look at those as the 1%ers. I look at them as the 1%ers because it helps you develop develop my character in regards to, being respectful to elders, not only to elders, but also to strangers in public, to going to the shop. Like I remember watching my mom or my dad when they went to the shop, what to order, and they'll say thank you or please. And because when I look at the word thank you and please, they're magical words. They help you along the way because it's the way, because of your manners. And that's my childhood memory, by watching, by analyzing, not only with the elders, but hanging around with my family, with my cousins and my uncles and aunties. That's what I really cherish about my childhood memories. So yeah.
That's amazing. Like I remember like many times throughout my childhood, whenever I forgot to say, well, in Samoan it's "Fatman mole," "Fatfitay" means thank you, "Fatman mole" means please. And whenever we'd forget to say that, it'll just come with a good slap.
Yeah.
So I definitely relate to that. But it's true.
Saying that in regards to family as well, Tim, how is Roman? I believe you in one of your earlier podcasts, Roman, one of autism.
So Roman's doing really well. So he
good.
He plays rugby league.
Yeah.
And he is thriving in school. I'm not sure I think he goes to a special school, but he's thriving in school. Do you know anyone with autism? Have you been in work with?
Not that, sort of in a way, through my life. I believe with people with autism, of course they have those, there's things you have to watch out for. But just hearing your podcast, I really admired that. what Roman's mom is doing by looking after him, and it's awesome. It's awesome, and I really commend you for that, Tima, for raising that, especially on the podcast, especially amongst the island community, because we need to know these things as islander people, Pacifica people, especially with children, having autism.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm sure you probably get this yourself. Like, I think people like us who share stories of regular people, of everyday people, we don't often get the, hey, well done. We just like it, it's not, we don't really get commended on that. So I really appreciate you for saying that. But I'd love to know, what were your favorite food and sports?
The favorite food, Tima, for me, I can't go past, of course. I miss my mom's spaghetti bolognese, but if that wasn't the case, nothing beats the Colonel, man. Nothing beats that KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken,
What's your favorite?
So KFC, yep.
I love the thigh. The thigh. That's like, I will fight one of my cousins for the thigh.
Yep.
I don't care.
So KFC, from a healthy option. If it's from a health perspective, I go, of course, fruits. Vegetables, strawberries. I love strawberries. Because I look up as well, they're good for your heart and good for other parts of the body as well. So strawberries and carrots. But also sports. When it comes to sports, you can't go past rugby. I know there's rugby league, but I'm more of a rugby union person. Right.
Much classier, rugby union. Awesome. And so what are your favorite scriptures? Because I noticed that you do some work in the church, and so I'm interested to know, as a Christian or Catholic girl myself, what are some of your favorite scriptures?
Well, I've got two main scriptures that always apply to me every day. First one is Philippians 4:13. It's I can do all things through Christ which strengthen me. And for Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, verse 5 to 6, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So if I was to say that in the Fijian vernacular of Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, states, Au sarawata na takaba na kakevenga na bukui Kristo koe sa vakakau takiau. And in Proverbs 3:5, Nutaki Jehovah and the Lumutozoko Kandua ni Nutaka na kau kila. And a veka kevenga vagaludi koya and a guy wakunundon taka na nomu lakulako koya. So to trust in the Lord, with all thine heart, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's those scriptures, they mean a lot to me, especially during my young days as a teenager till now. It's always helped me and guided me through, whether it be a physical exercise, especially back in the days of rugby training, or during the test, or whether it be sitting at school in an exam, or whether in the workplace. So, I worked in the meat factory called Primo Foods for 11 years, and one thing I'm thankful for is the longevity of that job. And by working in that job, it really made me thankful and also humble to, it may not be the best job, but a job's a job in the end of the day. And working alongside other people in the community from different ethnic backgrounds, it was like the whole world in one in that place. So you're talking about your Tongans, Samoans, Sudanese, Sierra Leone, Lebanese, Syrian, Congolese. There was a whole mixture of nationalities in that one place. So applying those scriptures in my life, and especially what I do in word or in deed, has really helped me as the years have gone by.
I love that. I just want to go back to you saying job's a job. I 100% agree. Before, I used to not agree with that. I used to not believe that. I used to think we needed to pursue things that we're passionate about. But in this day and age of a global pandemic, I think a job is a job. And what's most important is not really that job, but it's really being able to provide and spend time with your family and do things that you love. So thank you so much for touching on that. Very humble.
That's okay. And it's amazing how you mentioned that as well, Tima, because when I started work at Primo back in 2009, my two teachers was a Samoan and a Yugoslavian, and English wasn't their primary language. English was their second language. So hearing them try to speak English, I try not to be disrespectful, but in a way try to hear what they're trying to say. So it was challenging at times, but at the same time, I didn't want to just quit my job. I didn't want to quit my job because doing agency work and going from place to place, it can be annoying. And especially with my mom, even though she wasn't able to discipline me as I was, growing older, but just her body language of, how can I say, disappointment or discouragement. So maybe just stay in Primo. I first said Primo, I said, okay, I'll try it for 6 months. 6 months went past. I said, okay, I'll go 1 year. All right. 1 year went past. I said, okay, I'll go 3 years. All right. 3 years went past. 5 years. When I did my 5 years, I said to myself, I said to mom, mom, I'm going to do 10 years, 10 years just for you. And I'll finish up. And she said, okay, son, you do that. So, oh no, problems. I'm going to have something not to tear up. So mom passed away in 2016 of June. And when she passed, it really made me think, really made me think, should I give up or should I, persevere, continue on do this for her? So when she passes, I said, you know what, there's 3 years left. I'm going to do this all the way for you, mom. And when I finished it, when I made my 10 years, it was a sense of accomplishment. It was a sense of achievement. And it was a sense of, I did this for you, even though you're gone, mom. So yeah, that's why I look at it as, job's a job in the end of the day. And, in everything, give thanks. And I thank the Lord for that opportunity. So yeah, Tima.
I love that. And first of all, I'm really sorry to hear. I'm really sorry for your loss. I lost my brother in 2015. And I remember 2016 was such a time of healing for me. So I really relate to that loss of a family member. And what you've shown me in this pod, just you explaining that story, you've shown me that you've learned true commitment and true promise. And we don't really get that much these days, promises are broken left, right, and center. So I admire that. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it.
That's okay, Tima. That's all right.
I admire your emotion as well. And thank you so much. It's like really, really amazing that you've shared that story. And so I'm interested to know, so actually, no, speaking of your lovely mother, like what are some of the biggest lessons or one of the most important lessons that she taught you?
Oh, don't be selfish. There was one time in my life where I was being self-centered. I was being arrogant, I was being greedy. And then she just said to me, not angrily, but in a calm, like in a very monotone voice, don't be selfish, son. Don't think of just yourself, think of others. And it really got me thinking. It wasn't just an overnight change. It was true that what she said in that statement was just a gradual change as the days went by, trying to think of others, trying to try not to think just of yourself, but think of others as well. But at the same time, as much as I love my mom with that statement, sometimes I went too far. When I mean too far, that I thought about everyone else, but like when I'm talking from a financial perspective, and then for me, I'd be in the red or so, when it came to my finances. And that's what I thank the Lord for my dad for. My dad, he's more of a numbers man. He's a man that looks on the financial side of things when trying to budget yourself and trying to make sure, because as islanders, for me, myself, and I know what I admire is what you've said on the podcast. When it comes to finances, when it comes to money, sometimes, we think of others, but sometimes we think too much, and then we put ourselves in a situation where we're in a hole ourselves. So by learning from my mom, by not being selfish, but from my dad, I sort of molded those two sort of thoughts or so together to try and say, yes, I think of others. I think of others. I try not to be selfish, but at the same time, I've got to make sure that my own four corners are looked after as well.
Yeah. And so I'd love to know what you do for fun.
Oh, yeah. I love reading.
Cool.
As I mentioned before,
about all of the book club, my friend.
Yeah, I saw your books, and you know what? To be honest with you, I screenshotted those as well, because I saw one of them was the Alchemist, and this book and that book, and I said, I think I might take this up as well. I love reading because my dad encouraged me to read. If I was to share the first book I actually fully read from the beginning to end was Michael Jordan, the biography of Michael Jordan. Yes, that's why I'm a big fan of MJ. I am a big fan of Michael Jordan. As much people love LeBron James, but I just admire Michael Jordan and what he had to do back then, during the 90s, where there were so many other superstars back then, like Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal, an up-and-coming Kobe Bryant. Allen Iverson. I think it was OG1. That's how you say the name. Dominic Wilkins. It's all these names. Magic Johnson even back then, and just all these names, all these people to go up against, shows his perseverance and dedication in being the best of the best. And even though people may have questioned him how he's playing style or his attitude, but bro, in order to win what you want to win, like you got to go hard out to get that victory. So that was the first book I actually finished from beginning to end. Yeah, so I love reading, from biographies to history, to novels, of course, the Bible, of course, that's number one, of course, and yeah, and also playing. I love gaming, so PlayStation, playing Madden or FIFA. And on top of that as well, just yeah. Apart from that's my downtime, leisure time, and also I'm just going for walks, like walking. Just trying to get some steps on my walking as well.
I love that. So when you're talking about the MJ biography, which I'm definitely going to go out and look into, it reminds me of this book called Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good book. I'll send it to you later. It's a really
100%. Yeah, cool.
It's actually, it was written like probably in the 70s or the 80s, but it's still like a $60-$70 book to this day. So
wow,
quite expensive.
Okay,
so that's how good it is. But it's on YouTube for free. So
yeah, and also as well, Tima, I listened to one of the podcasts you did when you were in Fiji with Pauline Turanimbeti.
Yes, she's a friend of mine. Yeah.
I've seen the book. I've seen the book on Amazon, The River. I'm planning to get that book. So if it wasn't for that podcast you did with Pauline, I wouldn't know about the River book. So I really want to get that book. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm really enjoying this podcast because you're making me. Because sometimes I put out, I do the podcast and I do all of this just because I love it. And sometimes I feel like it goes unnoticed. I'm like, oh, what's the point? It's not even going to impact anyone. But you've been listening, so that's good.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you again, Tima. The one I really loved was with is it Christian Malietoa Brown?
Oh yes.
Oh man, like I listened to that 90-minute one, and I listened to the one after, and then I heard him saying, this is me paraphrasing. He said, "Oh, if any idiot listens to me speak it for 90 minutes, if any person listens to me for 90 minutes, they're an idiot." And I started laughing in the car. And I said, bro, I'm listening to you. Because he brought some stuff which I agree on. And Brad, he brought some gold nuggets, man. Like he was just legit, he was just straightforward on it.
I got quite a few people unfollow me because of that, because me and Christian, we're both conservative. Like I'm quite conservative in my views, and so is he. And not many people like him because he's so and so
wow.
But I don't care. I think he's actually got a lot to offer, a lot of value. He adds a lot of value into this world. So
yeah. So if you see him, just say, bro, just mention my name, just give him a special shout out. You can't make everyone happy, because if you're making everyone happy, you're setting yourself up for failure. So what Christian did, man, he just spoke it out, especially in regards to relationships. Yeah. He brought down the hammer on relationships. How he mentioned about how young islanders, they go meet the woman, they say, oh, this is my woman, this is the dream, and then next minute, 6 months or a year later, boom, it's finished. Especially when it comes to relationship or even marriages. And even though we don't hear, but bro, he brought it like it is and said, I was just like, yeah, man, that's true, Christian, that's 100%. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I know him quite well. So yeah, I'll definitely tell him.
Cool, man. Cool. Thanks, Tima.
Yeah, so we've learned so much about you already, but the podcast has just started. And my second question that I have here is about a mutual friend of ours who embarrassed me by telling me that you are a senior pastor. I don't know what made him think that.
Yep.
So here's my question. I told him, I was like, I'm going to get Cruz to talk smack about you on his podcast. So I said, what is an embarrassing story about Tui?
Okay. I'm trying. There's one in particular, but there's another one from my. Yep. So Tui, he needed my help. So I'm a justice of the peace here in Sydney, New South Wales. Yeah. So he rang me. He just needed some help in regards to writing a reference letter. And I said, sure, I'll help you out, Tui. I'll help you out. So I wrote the letter, went to meet him. And unfortunately, Tui, or when with me, I call him Tamana. with the mano Tui, he has a tendency of getting out his camera and taking photos or videos of people, whether it be friends or relatives. So as soon as he done that to me, I just started laughing. I just started laughing my head off because I was saying to myself, bro, it's no use fighting this. Just embrace it. Just try and shine forth yourself on Tui's storyline.
Yeah.
So I gave him my letter, and I said to him, bro, this is what you do. Go to the immigration. When you go to the immigration, fold up the paper, and when you fold up the paper, reach to the person's ear and say, Hail Hydra. So it's Hail Hydra. So if you know Marvel, if you're into Marvel comics, Hail Hydra is a term from Captain America. So I tried to do that to him to try and turn him off. But the thing is with me, I laugh easily. And as soon as I saw Tui's face, I started laughing because I can't keep a straight face when I see Tui, because with Tui, he reminds me of, Bill Duke?
No, I'm going to look him up.
No. All right, look him up. If you want to look him up now, type in the actor Bill Duke and tell me that he looks like him 100%. It's like his long-lost brother or uncle. You see it? Yes. I've even back. So this is the thing. Back when I was young, when I was a child, as I was just mentioning about my childhood days, when I saw Tui, he reminded me of Bill Duke. But the thing is, I think the other children wouldn't know who's Bill Duke. They'll probably know Will Smith, Eddie Murphy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, because those were the childhood action heroes back in the 90s. But if you mention Bill Duke, they say, who's that? So when I see Tui, I think of Bill Duke immediately. So when he came back to the scene, when he came back to the story of the senior pastor, he got me back because what I tried to do to him, that Hell Hydra, that joke. So when I saw your message, I said, what? Where did you get this from?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then when I posted my birthday post on Fiji history, and Tui wrote "Happy Birthday, Senior Pastor," and then I made and then I messaged him. But I just grilled him in regards to that. But there's another story. Yes. There's another story in regards to Tui. So this is through my cousin. My cousin shared me this story of what happened to what Tui did. So one of my cousins, one of his friends, which know Tui as well, was ringing him in the morning. He got his phone, he answered it, and he said, "Hey, do you know Tui's number? I need your help. I need Tui's number. I need his help immediately." So without hesitation, just trying to go to, so he can go to sleep, he just gave it to Tui. Next morning, my cousin rings Tui. Tui answers the phone, and then my cousin goes to Tui, "Hey, did you get the phone call last night?" And then he said, just let's say that Tui said some colorful words to him, to my cousin, said, "Why did you give him my number for? What for?" And then my cousin said, "What happened? Bro." So this is Tui. Bro, the mate, bro, he came to my front of the house, 4:00 in the morning, knocked on my door. He was full drunk. And then what happened was from there was he just wanted to move his car from the bottom of the street. So Tui lived in one house. His friend just lived at the other end of the street. So his friend, he said, "Bro, he just wanted to push the car from the bottom of the street just to the top of the street to his house, even though he's living not far from me." So hearing that out, I just cracked up laughing because he just woke up just for the sake of pushing the car from the bottom of the street to the top, and that was it. But then he could have just left his car at the bottom of the street and just wait the next day for Tui to wake up. But no, had to wake him up at 4:00 in the morning. So that's the stories that I have in regards to Tui. But no, he's for me it's funny. I don't know if it was for you funny, Tima.
No, I'm actually quite glad. I'm actually happy to hear that because he pissed me off by when I sent him a screenshot of your message and I was like so embarrassed and he was just laughing, could not stop laughing, just going ha 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 ha, and he was just like he didn't even care. So I'm glad. I hope that he gets woken up at 4:00 again. So, so that's awesome. So that's good. Okay. But shout out to Tui though, because like I have made some connections through him. So he's connected me with you, and he's connected me with Rock, which is really exciting. So it's really cool. So I'm really grateful for him.
And that's awesome, Tim. I also commend Tui as well, him and what the work they're doing, because like when I listen to your Facebook video about what he's doing as an actor or what he's doing as a comedian, like they've gone into that sort of arena where you don't see much islanders doing it. Shout out to Tafinga. For me, like for me, as personally, he was a big fan of mine because he was a comedian, but he did it in a way that was clean. It wasn't that very explicit or so. But sometimes, but what the finger did, what the finger did and what he's doing now, I think there's limits to what he's done, like he's doing, because I remember because the Tui was interviewed by another podcaster of island origin, and how he mentioned that with the finger, what he's doing is an awesome job, but there's limits to it as well for him to go above. So but shout out to the finger. I was amazed that he got bagged up because he recycles his jokes. So probably I don't know about that. So yeah, man.
Yeah. No. So that's I've seen comments like the Samoan community can be very brutal. And especially towards your own, and it's always your own that try and bring you down. But I've seen comments on social media of people saying that, and it's kind of true. But again, like Tui said, it's still really funny. Like it's still, people still joke about it to this day. Like it's he's always going to be one of the most respected comedians in the Pacific community. So yeah, it's yeah. So yeah, oh well, that's good. So thank you. I hope Tui gets woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning sometime soon. So what inspired you to start the Fijian history social media accounts? Because I've got quite a few friends in Suva, and they know who you are, and they're massive. They're so grateful for the Fijian history page, and they actually showed it to me. They were like, "Oh, this is really cool. If you're ever into it, you can have a read." So I'm interested to know what inspired that.
Sure. By all means, yeah, no worries, Tima. So going to primary school, so I'm going to go way back to the beginning. So going to primary school, I was raised up in a curriculum in Australia where we learned all about Australian history, the First Fleet, the Indigenous Australians, Captain Cook, Arthur Phillip, Colonel, all these things about Australian history as the years went by from primary to high school. And it came to a stage in my young adolescent life that I said, you know what, no disrespect to our the Australian culture and the way of life, but I want to learn my history. I want to learn Fijian history. So for me, when it came to pass was in 2006. So 2006, my history teacher by the name of Mr. Martin, he said, so this was when I was in year 11. He said, okay, I want each, so this was in ancient history. So he said, okay, I want each of you students to come up with an assignment of your own choosing. And the history, so the topic I chose was Fijian mythology. So I chose Fijian mythology, and especially in regards to the mythical creatures, the mythical gods back then, the old gods of Fiji, the shape of animals. So of course, Dakwanga, shark god, Denge, the snake god, and especially other deities as well. And by learning these things, it made me really fascinated me by hearing all these all the past history of old Fiji, cannibalism, witchcraft, the old chiefs, and going on towards when the missionaries came over to the islands of Fiji to spread forth the gospel, the good news. And I got top marks for that. I'm not sure if I do brag about it, but I got top marks for it because it really made me fascinated in my history, and especially with one of the old cannibal warriors or cannibal chiefs. He holds the Guinness World Record today, where he consumed 999 people in his lifetime. And according to mythology, if he had eaten one more person, he would have been deemed immortal. So it really opened my mindset, my eyes and my knowledge in regard to Fijian mythology. So that was 2006. Post high school, around 2009, I went to Fiji for the first time in 13 years. And, I worked hard. From 2008, 2009, sorry. I worked hard in my build up to my trip to Fiji. I saved some good coin. And of course, buying shirts and buying gospel CDs. I went straight to the Fiji Museum. Going to the Fiji Museum, I bought all these books. I bought books on, of course, Ratu Sukuna, his memoirs, his biography, the Fijian way of life, Fiji and the Fijians, the history of Fiji, how Fiji came to the way it's supposed to be, the Fijian dictionary, and all these other things as well. And I read all those books. I read it all. I read when I came back in Australia in 09, within 3 months, I read each book. Each book, some of them as thick as 300 to 500 pages. I just went through them all, wanting to learn more about history. And then we moved from 2009 around 2013. 2013, I started putting history photos on my Facebook page. The reason being that led to that was because during those times of social media, and even now, unfortunately, social media is being used in a negative way in regards to, people showing more flesh, less clothing, provocative images, things that are not suitable for even young children to see, or even, for those in the church or so, it's not good to see. So I put photos up of, Fiji or Fijian history, old photos, and that led onto my personal Facebook page from February 2013 until December 6th, 2013. So December 7th, 2013, I said to myself, okay, this Instagram is, it's taking off like wildfire. I'm going to make an Instagram page called Fiji History on December 7th, 2013. So Tima, when I started in 2013, my goal was in 2013, I had a 5-year goal, 5-year plan. I said to myself, okay, my 5-year goal is to establish the Fiji History page, have around 2,000 followers, a good amount of images, and see how it goes from there. So 5 years, fast forward to 2018. Instead of 2,000 followers, I had 20,000 followers by 2018. 20,000 followers by 2018, and it really, it blew my mind away. It really blew my mind away seeing, how far this page has come. So I turned it from a personal page on my Instagram to a business page, which you can switch profiles on Instagram. Yeah. As soon as I switched it to a business profile on Instagram, 20,000, went up to 30,000, 40,000. Last year was a year that really meant a lot to me because it was our 50th year of independence, and to get 50,000 followers in the 50th year of Fiji's independence, it meant a lot to me. I may have not got an award or get recognition, but as long as I put this as a way to mark how far Fiji has come, where it was now to where it is now, where it was back then to where it is now and where it's going, and to see the page reach 50,000 was a great achievement. And people may say, are you the only one that runs the page? And I say to you now, Tima, and to those that may be listening later on, yes, I am. I'm the only one that runs the Fiji History page, both on Instagram and on Facebook. So going back to the Facebook one in 2018, so when it was the 5-year anniversary of Instagram, I said to myself, okay, that's going well. We're going to branch out into the Facebook arena. So I had another one of my cousins that helped me out in the early days, and we started that out. So back in 2018, and as of 2021 now, we've gone to now 21,000 followers on the Facebook page of Fiji History. We have a combined total together, it's looking at 81,000 followers. And as much as I'm thankful to see the growth and to see, the Fijians and non-Fijians being interested in Fijian history, I always stay humble, Tima. I always stay humble. I don't want to get big-headed by it because, this page is dedicated to the Fijian people to show, how far we've gone in regards to the history of Fiji. And not only that, I do take this time as well to acknowledge the National Archives of Fiji, Fiji Museum, other independent sources, people that have helped me along the way in posting their photos, whether it be of relatives or family, or certain moments in time that they caught. And I always ask, may I share this on the Fiji History page? And they say, 99% of the time, they say yes. Sometimes they say no, and I have to respect that. It's an opportunity I wish that could have happened, but look, I have to respect the people who say no. Top of that as well, I acknowledge those people, and like even those that may listen, like to yourself as well, Tima, I don't have a degree in history. No, I don't have a degree in archaeology. I don't have a degree in any of these things. But it didn't stop me from saying, you know what, I'm going to take this. I want to use social media as a powerful weapon, as a good tool, as a good source of positivity of showing history from a Fijian perspective. And not on top of that, also shout out to Wells that there's one Samoan page called Ainga. I hope that I said it right. They show the Samoan culture. They've got around 27,000 followers, or 28, or I think 27,000 followers, and I really love the content that they show. And there was one other one I think it was called Tongan History, and they show some good good stuff as well. I made a Pacific history page, but it wasn't how can I say, it was very difficult for me because I didn't want to try and offend anyone in regards to trying to showcase their history. So I said to myself, it's better if I just focus on the Fijian history, because instead of trying to go, two separate ways and trying to focus on that, they may not be successful. So unfortunately, I had to discontinue the Pacific history Instagram page, but I kept on with the Fiji history page. And as of today, the Fiji history page is at 61,700 followers. So I'm thankful for how far it's come. And yeah, I'm just real honored to showcase Fijian history, and especially during that page as well. There's been some individuals that they found photos which they haven't seen before of their family. And they message me and they say, thank you so much. Yeah, they say, thank you so much for personally. I haven't seen that in a while. I have not seen that ever. But amongst from the positive, there's been some negative as well. There's people that have been critical of my work. There's been people that bag my work out. But as I said again early in the podcast, you can't make everyone happy. I'm in the learning process of trying to showcase history. But even though I mentioned before that I haven't got a degree in history in that, but I'm pursuing it after I complete my degree in social science and master in child and community service. I do plan to pursue in getting a degree in ancient history to further my knowledge, and also in a way showcase not in Fiji history, but also shout out to all the other historians in Pacifica. They're doing their part to see, as us for as young islanders, even islanders that are born here in New Zealand, that, we've got history, we've got a deep history, and it can go far, and it can help us realize and understand that, we've come a long way. Like I watched, you watched that movie, Tima, is it Payback or Paycheck? Don't Move the Finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what moved me was at the end of the credits, and you see the old videos and old photos of the Samoans coming to New Zealand, working, going to it's and I especially love the song "The Land of Milk and Honey." I actually bought it on iTunes. Aww. And it really made me thankful, realize, hey, it's not only from a Samoan or Tongan or Fijian perspective, but from an islander perspective of the parents' history and our parents' history, or coming down to a place such as New Zealand or as Australia, and giving us next generation a better opportunity to get a good education or good job or good uni degree, because just shows how much they loved us. And that's why I really love those sort of things. I'm not sorry if I'm going a bit off topic, but there's one other scene. What is that actor's name? Is it Lino or one of the Samoan actors?
They're all Samoan.
Yeah, sorry, all Samoan. Yeah, the one that played us alongside the finger. Is it Lino? His name?
Yes, yeah.
So I really admire this man's acting, because there was a scene where he fought against his cousin, and when he opened the bum bag and all the money was gone because he spent it all, and just the facial features that he showed of showing, disappointment, showing anger, showing all those things. It's like, bro, I can relate to that, or we can relate to that when family members spend all our money in that and realize, bro, that's all the hard work that's gone down the drain. And sometimes I see that as, for me, going back, with my parents, where, I didn't want to disappoint them because they've invested so much into my life. Like here in Australia, I remember watching on the news that parents, according to statistics, parents will spend from the child, this is just one child, from the day that they're born till 18, spend around $250,000 on one child. So it's like that's a lot of coin. And that's and yeah. So going back to the history part of it, yeah, I'm just thankful where it is now. And I'm just staying humble and see how far I go. In 2 years' time, Tima, will be 10 years, the 10-year anniversary of Fiji history.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, you've done a remarkable job, because I know that it's not just Fijians on that page and that enjoy the content you put out there. There's me, and there's my auntie. Actually, it was my auntie who shares, because I was over in Fiji at the time, and she shared me a post, one of the posts on Fiji history. So it's really cool. And I think for the 10-year anniversary, I really believe that you should celebrate it. I think you'd like have it. Like, I don't know, like an awards show was to celebrate Fijians in the everyday community or something. I think it would be amazing.
Hey, yeah. I'm trying. Yeah, I'm really trying to. Yeah, really want trying to think them what to do. But but also look, I acknowledge even in the Fiji history. Once again, I acknowledge Pacific Islanders, people, Pacific heritage, going out of their comfort zone. Like for me, during this history page, Tima, I was really going out of my comfort zone. I was thinking, oh man, what happened if I, there's the real experts. They think I've got it wrong, and then. But then the other mindset will say, no, what, just go, just do it. Whatever happens, whatever occurs, and yeah, to see where it is now. Yeah, I'm just thankful for it, and like commenting also for yourself, Tima. With your podcast, it's awesome to see that interviewing people, Fijian, Samoans, and also that Saturday Fly. Is that yeah, Saturday Fly. That's awesome, man. I really, when I listen to your podcast on Saturday, the origins of Saturday Fly. No, that's awesome, man, to see what it actually meant to you, and by incorporate that into the business. So I really commend that. And yeah, also to just in Pacifica, back to acting. Like when I talk, especially in the comfort zone, I remember hearing, like, listening to a podcast with Sosifina. Is that the one?
Yes, yeah. Wow.
And that and I saw the trailer, and I can see why heads were turning, because this is actually like the first for me to see Islanders going into that sort of arena of exposing sexuality, going to see how her name is Josephine, how she had to go into that that area of being, of course, a stripper. And it really, and like for me, like really, like when seeing that, said, yeah, like even though it's been shown, but it just shows that sometimes we've got to be aware of who really needs help. That the real probably why she went down that road, because no one was willing to know, no one was willing to help. But or if I got the storyline wrong, but hearing just seeing that Fisher Island is going at that window, going into that sort of arena zone. Not in Josephina, but also Rock and Cab, going to an area where there's more explicit language that they use. It's things, of course, that will turn heads around. From with all island communities, but shows that the reality of things, that the reality of the world that we live in today.
No, absolutely, and you've no, of course, with that Sosifina video, yes, that was they got a lot of slack because of for that movie, and it never aired in the end of the day. Like I still haven't seen it, so because
so they haven't aired
it.
Released
it officially. No.
Oh, okay.
Quite an interesting story, like Samoans as strippers. I don't know. It's quite an interesting one. Yeah, but speaking of I want to go back to, I want to stick to the topic of podcast and Fiji.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Oh, it's okay. I really want to. I've got another question for you, but I want to stick to this topic. I really love the Everyday Fijians podcast, and I've listened to a few. and when I was listening, I just listened to the recent ones. When I was doing some research on you and trying to get your questions together, and I think I messaged you on Instagram about your cousin and the dead body, because when I was in year 8, I experienced something similar. Like, we didn't find a dead body, but we actually witnessed this lady, because our school was next to the beach, and we witnessed her going into the water and then coming back like 2 hours later, floating, like she kind of like floated back to shore. And all of the ambulance is there, and the police is there, and that was a real traumatic experience. So I just thought I was the only, like, because when I shared that story with people, they don't really believe me. So I'm really glad that your cousin shared that story, because I was like, it actually happens. Like, it's crazy, but it happens.
Yeah. So with that story of my cousin, hopefully he hears it. Shout out to my cousin Nathaniel Nakui. Yeah. So when he shared that, it was a real eye opener, and like, especially when he shared that, I asked him what was the smell like, And he mentioned, I think he mentioned on the podcast, or it was on the podcast or off it. It's like you can't explain it. It's like a different kind of stink, And for him to see that, especially at a young age, with the high school he went to, it just really showed what he encountered as a young boy, as a young Fijian.
Yeah. See, that's what I admire about your platform. You're sharing stories of everyday people. Sometimes we just need a break from celebrities and influential people. We just want to listen to everyday people who we actually interact with. And I'm just going back to like the dead bodies, and I find it fascinating. I'm a huge fan of CSI. I'm a huge fan of those crime shows. But my mum, she was working at the hospital in Samoa where this tragic incident took place of a mother. She went to bingo and she locked her kids up in the room and she left the lamp in there just so they don't get scared of the dark. And so what happened was that lamp accidentally knocked over and burnt the whole house down with the kids locked in the room. Yeah, it was really tragic. But when I was like, oh my God, what was it like when the bodies were brought into the hospital? She's like, it's like a really weird, different burnt smell. And I was just like, yeah, I could imagine. But yeah, it was tragic, but yeah.
Wow.
The stories.
Man, didn't he? No, that's sad. It's sad to hear that.
Yeah, it's real sad. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm so glad he shared that though, because no one ever believes me and it's not on Google because we didn't have online here, like we didn't have the online newspaper, we didn't have online platforms back in the day. It was just old school newspapers. So I can't Google that to prove to people that it happened. I've only got my old primary school friends, but they live in Christchurch. I live in Auckland, so.
I went to Christchurch in 2014.
Oh, where did you stay?
Yeah.
That's my hometown.
I stayed so I think I stayed near so I stayed near the airport. I think the airport hotel, and I was like near a museum where you can I think I was near the museum. So I stayed there. I went to visit one of the churches, but as well, it was 3 years after the earthquake. So when I went there, it was especially when I went to the main town, I felt like a ghost town. I felt like a ghost town. It felt like the rubble from the earthquake was still standing. I heard that insurance companies went bust because they couldn't process the claims. There was too many claims in regards to it. But just seeing it, but it's a really nice place. I really admired it. And one of my cousins, he's a Crusaders fanatic. He loves the Canterbury Crusaders. So yeah, that's it's a wonderful place, Christchurch.
It is, and it's really. Did you go during the winter?
Yes, I did. It was very cold.
You would have.
I had the heat. I had the heat of full blast. So that's why. And by me having the heater full blast, I nearly missed my flight on Monday morning because of the comfort of the heater. So I just made it. If I didn't make it, there would have been some. There would have been some angry bosses at work if I came a day late. So yeah.
It would have been very expensive to rebook.
Yes, yeah.
No, yeah. Christchurch is a real crispy cold. Like it's just if there's but yeah, oh no, that's good. So I just came back from Christchurch last week. I go back often just to see my family and hang out and stuff. But all of the rubble from the earthquake is all cleaned up. Christchurch looks beautiful again. So
that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I hope you can go back. It's beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool. So I'll just look at, we've had such a good conversation. My phone closed. So I love that you share about fellowship. Actually, no. What inspired you to start the Everyday Fijian podcast?
Thank you for asking me that question, Tima. Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, there was a podcast in Fiji called Veitalano Podcast, made by one of the Fijians in America. And yeah, so I was listening to it because one of my cousin sisters was on the podcast, and at the end of every podcast, she said that there's an app called Anchor app.
Yeah.
Anchor app. So this was back in January. So I was saying to myself, oh, should I start a podcast? Should I do something? But the thing is, if I was to be honest, I was afraid. I was afraid because, what happens if this doesn't work? What happens, So seeing the success of the Fiji history page, starting with Instagram, then branching out through Facebook. Later on down the month, from January downwards, I saw, okay, maybe maybe Everyday Fijians can be another branch of the Fiji History Network on Instagram. So when I started, the podcast started in August last year, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do a goal again. I'm going to say, okay, if I get, by the end of the year, if I get 100 plays, I just said 100 plays, and an audience of 20, I'll be content with that. I'll be thankful for that. And as of now, I just finished wrapping up season 3. As of now, so the goal was 100 plays, an audience of 20. So as of now, I've gone over 4,100 plays. We have a combined audience of over 250 from season 1 to 3. So to see it go that far, I was like, man, I'm just lost for words. And covering an audience of 250, covering 250 from season 1 to 3 combined audience with around 37 nations listening. I was just like, man, this is just something else. And interviewing people such as Rock and Cav, my cousin, as you mentioned about the dead body, sweet bullet cakes in regards to the making of their cakes. Some rugby players, individuals that are working the healthcare sector, or just their everyday Fijians. And to see the page, to see that podcast come out as it is now, I'm just thankful for it. I'm just thankful for the opportunity to see, this podcast and Fiji History Instagram, Facebook page just succeeding at a level I thought I would not see, and just to see the podcast and just to interview people and just to hear their story. And I always go, the phrase is everyday Fijians living in an everyday world, sharing their everyday story. And by them sharing their story, for me, I believe that there's other individuals that can relate to that story, that can relate to that sort of upbringing, or relate to, missing their families, missing their families, or appreciating their upbringing. Like just before the episode with my cousin, I interviewed Sweet Bullet Cakes, and I was moved to tears when one of the guests on the show started mentioning about the mother-in-law, being an impact in her life, and it really made me think of my mother and my grandmother, how they will impact my life as well. And just by hearing those things and hearing those stories from a face-to-face person, for me, it makes me honored and privileged, and as well, hopefully to the listener as well on the podcast, it makes them realize that they're not alone in sharing the story. And even when I interview guests, or before interviewing them, Tima, they always say, oh, what I'm going to share, what I'm going to do. And just like what you did, you send the questions beforehand, and I send the questions to them. And I always say to them, listen, these are the questions. I'm going to guide you through it. We're just going to talk. We're just going to chat. And by the end of the podcast, when they see the duration of the podcast, when it's nearly an hour, they're very surprised. They say, wow, what? Like I went for this long? I say, yeah, you went for that long because you had a lot to share on. And especially when I interviewed Rock and Cab, when I interviewed those two in season 1, episode 10, they had a lot to share. Like us with Tamana, coming from Fiji, from the village lifestyle and coming into the concrete jungle and being where he is now today as a person on Can You Be More Pacific, and with Joe Rokongo. You may not know this, Tim, if you do interviewing with Joe, he was a talented rugby player. He'll probably share that more, and if you do get the opportunity to share with one of the other half of the Rock and Cab crew. Seeing where he's going now with his acting career and with his podcasting on the Can You Be More Pacific ABC station, and also being a father of 3, 2 twins and a daughter. It's amazing to see that, and that's why I call it everyday Fijians. It's not about it's not superstar Fijians or celebrity Fijians. It's your everyday Fijians. Especially interviewing my second or third episode with Salome Vakarau, owner of the Bulla Grays Instagram page, Instagram, that business here, Bulla Grays. And I love this statement that she shared, because she came, with her, she had doubts and questions about starting her business. But she mentioned this, this statement, which I fully agree on. And it said, if you don't have friends that are not motivating you, that are always bagging you down, change your group of friends. And I said, bro, that's deep. That's a gold nugget there, or more than a gold nugget, more like a gold coin, like a gold cube, or whatever the size it may be. Because as islanders, sometimes we hang around our boys, or we hang around our crew, we hang around our friends, our usos, or our tanganes, or our tokos, or whatever the case may be. But if you're not growing around them, if you're not growing, if you're just doing the same thing every weekend or every so and so and so, and you're not growing, then you got to really question yourself. Am I really achieving what my parents wanted me to achieve? Am I really succeeding what my parents want me to succeed? But in the end of the day, as much as we can share this, it comes down to the choice of the individual, the islander. So by doing this podcast, it's a way to not only raise, hear people's stories, but for young Fijians that may be listening or maybe watching the Fiji history page, to grow, to get out of their comfort zone, to not be that stereotype, to not be that, oh, I'm just an islander, I just work in a factory, or I'm, just go with the flow, or something, along those lines. Because, because the reason as well by doing this podcast and establishing the page was for Fijians or islanders to grow. Like for example, when I posted on the Fiji history page, there was a lady by the name of I think it's Dr. Ripawanga, being the first Fijian in the Pacific, I think, to get a PhD. I think it was a particular field of nursing. And to see that, it's awesome. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, from a Samoan perspective, he had $7 in his pocket, and look at him now. He's got the most, I don't know, I think he's got the most followers on Instagram, and look what he's achieving now. He probably can be the next president of the United States. Yeah. Who knows? And like from a Tonga perspective as well, and like from Islanders. So by creating these things, by establishing the podcast such as Everyday Fijians or the Fiji history page, for us to show that we're more than just successful in the sporting field or rugby field. We can be successful in our own field. We may not be the Jared Hayne in the rugby field, or we can be the Jared Hayne or the Semi Randrandra in our particular field of employment or academics or whatever the case may be.
Love that. Awesome. That is, and it's definitely, it's true. Like for me, I'm more uplifted by the everyday people I surround myself with, as opposed to being uplifted by other celebrities. So like I feel inspired by you, like you record your podcast in literally any social setting. Like you're not, for me, I put barriers on myself. I'm like, no, I gotta wait till it's quiet. I gotta wait till this. I gotta wait till that. But you're just like, whip out your phone or whatever you're using, and you're just like, let's do it. And I love that. So
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I've had so many podcast guests where kids are running around, but it's just life. Like you can't.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. And I remember with I don't know if you with me and Tui's podcast, his niece was constantly
yes.
I was telling him, don't worry, she's fine. It's life.
Yes.
We have family, it's fine. It's not a big deal. So that was really cool. I want to move on to your faith, because I love that you share about fellowship and doing God's work on your. Is that a plane? There's a plane flying over my house. We live not too far from the airport.
Okay, no worries. All good.
Yeah.
I really want to go to Fiji right now, man.
Yeah, same. I love that you share about fellowship and doing God's work. So talk to us about your faith and how being a Christian has impacted your life.
Oh, yes, thank you, Tima. Yes, of course, in regards to that question about my faith, it's impacted me greatly. Serving the Lord since I've been 14 years old. I'm thankful that He has always guided me through. Especially when I came to the Lord as a 14-year-old. Of course, being raised in Methodist and Assemblies of God, and where I'm now in the Pentecostal movement, coming to the Lord as a 14-year-old. Especially during those times as a teenager, it was a challenge. But what I'm thankful for is the people that I was surrounded with. So my uncles, the elders of the church, hearing what they shared on the Sunday morning service, Sunday night service, or Friday youth. It really motivated me to really just move forward in Christ. As it says in His word that He'll never leave me nor forsake me. So with Him by my side, I always realized that there was always that audience of one. Especially during high school. Of course, there were challenges. Especially on Friday nights. So Friday nights, all the friends would go out to their parties. They'll go to their parties, but I always chose to go to youth. The reason why I didn't go to the parties was because simply there was no food. It was just drinks. So I'm sorry, Tima. I have to be real. They'll say, when they say, oh, there'll be drinks there, Michael, there'll be drinks. So would there be food? No, not really, just finger food. Nah, sorry. I can't do finger food. I'm just going to youth. So, I go to youth and hearing the previous. So sorry about that, Tima. So here in going to youth on the Friday night, it really made hearing the preaching and really strengthened my faith and strengthened my knowledge of the word of God. On top of that as well, what really also strengthened my faith as well was not only my parents, of course, my parents, my grandma. My grandma, she passed away as well 5 years ago. So with my grandma, my mom always shared me this story. So I was born premature. And prior to my birth, the doctors look at the report or the report or how the birth is going. And the doctor said to my mom back in 1989, the doctor said, it's either you or your son that's going to live. That's what the doctor's report said. You or your son that's going to live. But on the day of the birth, when I was born, I lived and my mom lived. So, because my grandma prayed. My grandma prayed a prayer of faith. My grandma prayed hard that we both come out of this alive, and we did. And, what I'm thankful for as well, that, playing rugby in high school, playing rugby, my passion was to go, play professional rugby. I'm going to go as far as, trying to make it for the Flying Fijians. Most Fijians, would like to play for the Fijians or Samoans to play for Samoa, Tonga for Tonga, so on and so forth. So unfortunately, that did not come to pass. They came to a part in my final year of high school where there was some differences happening at home. And unfortunately led to my parents, my dad moving out, and it was just my mom and myself. And it's like, oh man. And in my final year of high school, Tima, my final year out of all years. So I was getting good grades in my final year of high school. I was getting high 80s, early 90s. Because I love my schoolwork. I love my academics, and especially history. I love my history as well. Most of the island boys, they chose music, sports science, or PE because it's mostly practical. There's less theory. Yeah. So in my final year of high school, I had to work and do school at the same time, and it really affected my performance in the classroom. And there's concerns where my teachers were saying, "Oh, Mike, are you gonna finish year 12? Are you gonna finish year 12?" And when they said that, I wanted to prove them wrong. Not in a way angrily, but I just want to show, look, I may not succeed, but I'm gonna finish year 12. So I finished year 12, while I was working. I didn't get the marks that I needed to go into uni. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest right now. But at the same time, being in a country such as Australia, there's many opportunities, probably the same as New Zealand as well, if that's the case, maybe, yeah. So there was other opportunities as well to venture out, to be successful in. So I just finished year 12. I did my HSC. I passed my HSC, which I thank the Lord for. And I got all the marks that I defied the odds of teachers, but I didn't go good in the trials. So by me not getting good in trials, as I said before, I couldn't get into uni because it affected my UAI. My UAI was around 49, so I didn't even get the pass mark. So that's how low it was. I didn't get the pass mark, and I just want to say this, especially on this podcast, that yeah, I did fail, but look, as I said earlier before, I'm doing uni at the age of, I started uni at the age of 29, and aiming for 2023 graduation. So I may have gone down the long road, but it's been a wonderful road. It's been a wonderful journey. So going back, if you're doing work at the age of 17, March 12th, I still remember the date, March 12th, 2007, I started my first evening job at Top Priority, getting $28 an hour as a 17-year-old. And for telling my schoolmates back then, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it because now that's impossible. You can't, because that's more than McDonald's money. So getting a good coin and helping out, it did help a long way, but it was a sacrifice I had to make in looking after mom. So mom wasn't working a full-time job. She was working full-time job, but it was just 20 hours a week. So it wasn't a 38-hour week. So working 20 hours a week, I had to do them. I had to do the hard yards as well and helping her out and doing schoolwork. Try as best as I can, but still, because what was on my mindset, as much as I wanted to achieve in schoolwork and that was with mom. But through that all, there's that song by Andre Crouch, it's called Through It All, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. And it was through it all. It was through it all that looking back then as an 8-year-old till now, God, the Lord has protected me and guided me, strengthened my faith as years gone by. So from that time till now, I thank the Lord that I've been able to travel to places I haven't thought I'd travel to. Going to 16 nations, seeing parts of the world I haven't seen before, going to churches I haven't seen before. I've been to Samoa. I've been to American Samoa. Yes. In Samoa, I stayed in the place Siusenga. Yep. I stayed there with a wonderful Samoan family. Got to, having dinner with them, and they had their devotions at 6 o'clock every night. They prayed and they read the word. So hearing that and respecting that, I went to the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum. Went through his house. The name of the tour guide, his name was Nitro, Samoan man named Nitro, but he had an accent of a Scottish person. But I don't know if that was his real accent or it's just improvising. I don't know the case.
Probably. But that's amazing that you went to Samoa. So one of my friends and a few of my cousins work in the hotels, and they said that every time a Fijian rugby team, whether it's Flying Fijians or whatever, because they go to Samoa often, and the girls go crazy. The girls go crazy. It's just over the Fijian boys. So I'm not sure if you experienced that. Did you experience that?
Unfortunately, no, I didn't experience.
Yeah.
So I stayed and went to American Samoa.
Oh yeah.
So when I went to Samoa, man, I was amazed that McDonald's over there is pretty expensive. Yeah. But bro, it's packed out. But it's packed out. I saw it, man. It's packed out. Like for me, I wanted to get a Big Mac meal, but it cost me like $20. And like, bro, that's
$30 for the large one.
Wow. Yes, but yeah. So went there, but then when I went to American Samoa, their currency is the American dollar. I got a Big Mac meal for $6. So it was like, it was something else. And I've been in both Samoan regions. I was thankful for the opportunity, but also when I flew the plane from Samoa to American Samoa, small plane, and I didn't realize that my bags would be coming the next day. So when I landed in Pango, my bags weren't there. So they said, come back tomorrow. And I was saying to myself, bro, this is a first. So I ended up going to the hotel. Sorry?
It's so unprofessional. Did they put you in a hotel or anything?
Yeah, I went to my hotel, but I had no clothes. So I was in the clothes for the whole night. And I went back to the airport the next day to pick up my bags. So when I went back to the airport, I said to them, listen, can you put this as priority, because I need to go back to Fiji on the same day. So they put it as high priority. But overall, I enjoyed it. When I enjoyed my time in Samoa, American Samoa, been to Papua New Guinea, Thailand, Bali, Hong Kong, Macau, and all these wonderful places. That just sees how big, because what I learned is that when you travel, it makes your view of the world more rounder. This is what I learned from a friend. It makes your view of the world more round. And going to America, going to the United States. Like when I went to Disneyland back in 2013, I kid you not, Tim, I started crying. Because the reason why I started crying was because it's like, this is your childhood dream. You watch this on TV. Like I started, bro, like I had to start wiping my eyes off, because like, bro, I'm in Disneyland, man. This is where it all happened. And I kid you not, when I saw Mickey Mouse, Tima, I started screaming and running. As a 24-year-old, I started screaming and running, and I was so tempted by pushing children out of the way because I wanted to see Mickey Mouse. So, it's I'm so thankful that the Lord has taken me to all these places around Asia, North America, Asia Pacific region, and I'm just so thankful for these opportunities, and especially with my faith as well. Back in 2016, so my mom passed in June 6, 2016, which would be 5 years, and my grandma passed a month later in July. So two influential figures that helped me along my walk. I love my dad as well. He's just out there watching TV. Two figures that helped me, they passed on, and my grandma passed 2 weeks before 80th. So she was so close to making that mark. but unfortunately it did not come to pass. But I'm always forever thankful and grateful. And the reason why I continue to persevere, to continue to have have that good attitude and increase my faith is because I always think that I pretend that my mom and my grandma are still here, that they're still alive, and I'm going to keep on moving on. And if I was to say to you, Tima, and to any of your listeners, or if you post this on your page, or to anyone that listens, love your parents, love your mom and dad, because there'll come a time in your life where it'll become a memory. And if if your parents are still alive, Tima, love them. I know you understand you're busy. Like this is as you said in your last podcast, you have sometimes you have anxiety.
Yeah.
You have those you have those problems. So of course, I can use that. The Lord will give you peace and comfort on top of that. But also, love your parents. Love them. Give them a phone call. To anyone that may be listening, give them a phone call. Say, how are you, mom? How are you, dad? How's things, so on and so forth. The good Lord gave me 27 years with my mom, and unfortunately, with her health deteriorating and being a diabetic and having malformation, at the time as much as try to reject it, but I knew the Lord's going to take mom soon. So the Lord has guided me throughout these years. On top of that as well, I ran in the federal election. So 2 weeks after mom passed, I was a candidate in the 2016 federal elections here in Australia. And it was either, should I go on or should I quit? But, as I said again, my scripture during the hard times, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. I said to myself, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go guns blazing. Let's do this. Not only just as a Christian, but also as a Pacific Islander. As an islander, showing that we can, I'm not going to be that stereotype that's just going to be a factory work or something like that, or just a 6 to 2 or 9 to 5, whatever the case may be. I want to continue on, and by going in these elections in 2016, and at the end of it, I came top 4. I came top 4 in those federal elections in the seat of Hughes, 4,500 votes. We have, I think, 4,500 votes with a percent. That's a percentage of 4% or 4.8%. So it's like what I can't get over is 4,500 people actually voted for me in the federal elections, and I thank the Lord for that. There's so much support behind me. My dad posted something on Facebook in reaching out to the Fijian community. I was invited on radio with my uncle about the federal elections, and just sharing that nothing's impossible when you believe. And I thank the Lord. Especially last week, turning 32 years old. Serving the Lord now for 18 years. And look, I'm single, and I'm not ashamed to say it. There are probably 30 plus European, islanders, someone Fiji and Tongan, they may be single and they say, it's the end of the world. But look, I always put it this way, the Lord will save the best one for you. You just got to keep on being patient. Try and not rush it. So, 32, still single, but as long as I have Jesus in my life, that's the most important thing that occurred to me. So he has guided me through. I've been blessed to go to the nations I've been to before, to be on this podcast. Man, Tim, I tell you, I kid you not. When I was asked by you to be on this podcast, I was like, bruh, me, me just to be on this podcast with other people you've interviewed in Japan, or with Cab, or with Papolini, or with Christian O'Brien, and me as one of your guests on this podcast. It's like, man, it's like, Lord, this is just you. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity. And overall, as much as I travel or be in years or been interviewed on, I just stay humble and say, Lord, I'm just going to be humble. Wherever you open the door, I'll go.
Amen. Amen. I love that. And I'm really glad that you're on this podcast because, again, like I like to commend and amplify the voices of people who share other people's stories. So, and so when I asked Toya, when I saw you on Toy's story, you must have been delivering food to him. I was like, hey, how do you know him? I'm just like, how do you know him? And he's like, oh, he's my childhood friend. I'm like, get him on my podcast, please. And then so I hope Toy did ask you. Did he ask you?
Yeah, he asked me. And then when I saw your page, and I was like, because with Tui, he sometimes he's a prankster, it's like, is he telling the truth or is he pulling my leg? And then when I saw you message me, I said, bro, wow, this is the real thing. This is the real deal. And I'm just thankful for being acknowledged for my work in regards to what I'm doing for the Fijian community. So people if I was to even share this as well, people may ask, am I getting paid for this? Am I getting paid to do my podcast or post? I'm not. I know people may say, oh, you should do it, you should. But like for me, like, it's like for me, it's the passion. For me, it's like, I'm not doing this so I can get paid. I'm doing this because the love of it. I may not be, I may not get a six-figure check or that, but there's more to life than money. This is for me is a passion to show for the Fijian people to be, that to put the page of Fiji history as, people, that may be working in the markets or people that are growing crops, yeah. And like if I share as well, like I get teary when the Fiji national anthem is played, whether it be on a rugby pitch or anyway, because that's where my parents came from and that's what I represent. And yeah, just do it for the love of it. And I forgot to mention, sorry, Tim, I forgot to mention one thing in regards to my faith during COVID. So I finished on April 9th, 2020, and that was during the peak of COVID. And workmates were saying to me, "Oh, why didn't you finish? Why are you finishing, Michael? Why are you leaving? You should go. You should stay. You should stay at your workplace because there's no job out there." And I respect. I know where they're coming from that perspective, from that point. But I knew deep within myself, I knew, no, this is the right time for me to leave, even though it is disastrous. Disastrous what's happening globally, especially from then till now. But I said to myself, Lord, I'm giving my trust to you. I'm giving my trust to you. You're going to open the door. So I finished, and then, just a couple of days later, I started doing my career work because I was doing part-time. So when I was doing premium, I'll share Tima. When I was doing premium work, after my 71 month passed, I did courier and Uber driving and menu log. So it was pretty hectic weekends. And when I gave up premium, so there was already still the courier work, but I turned it from part-time to full-time. And 1 year later now, I'm still working, food on the table, bills are getting paid, and there's no one screaming at me. There's no one yelling at me. There's no one telling me to do this, do that, hurry up, you're too slow. So, doing the career work right now, and I'm just thankful because, the Lord will not let these people go begging for bread. And I'm just thankful right now that I'm here and now here on April 28th, 2021, here on this wonderful podcast. So yeah.
Thank you. So my family own a courier as well. So we owned it for many years, and sometimes I jump on the courier and help and do deliveries as well, which is really humbling. But I haven't done it in years. I mean, in the past I have. But I feel like when I am driving, or when I'm on public transport, or even on an Uber, like I feel like that's when I have my best thinking time. And I'm wondering, I mean, as someone who does drive for a living in some ways, and do you experience like any spiritual breakthroughs or any mental breakthroughs while you're driving as well?
Oh yeah, 100%, Tima. When I drive, especially when I listen to podcasts, yours or the other podcasts I listen to, like the words of wisdom that that is being brought forth through the audio into my mindset. There's a current of that breakthrough, whether it be from a spiritual breakthrough or mental breakthrough, especially as an islander, as a Fijian, as a Pacifica person, those breakthroughs in a way help me to really enhance my knowledge or in a way really make me think. Especially if I also go in regard to how you brought up about money, I believe in one of your podcasts about finances, like you mentioned about, buying things that we shouldn't buy, we just wear it once and then we don't wear it after that. Or our way of spending, we go take out where there's food in the fridge, or there's certain other elements, especially to an islander's perspective of finances, but we're negligent that, and also on top of that, we don't speak about it. So that makes me really think. Like I tell you now, because of what you said, I remember going through my eBay page and realized seeing all these items. I said, man, Tima's just brought some few pointers here. So I started deleting them one by one. And on the top of that as well, reading books on finances in regard to a mental breakthrough, especially from a financial perspective. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes, I've read
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a very good book. I recommend it to anyone that's read it. And if you've read it, Tima, that's awesome. It gives you insight on how to save. People try to think, oh, if I get big money, then I'll start saving. No, it starts from the basics. It starts from the money that you receive that it grows by the way you save, by doing certain things in that. And when it comes to spiritual breakthrough as well, listen to the preaching or listen to hear the word of God. It makes us, especially when it comes to comparisons. The word of God, it states, of course, if you compare, yourself with, with other people, it's not wise. And on top of that as well, comparison, it's the death of joy or it's the thief of joy. Because with comparisons, we're trying to compare each other. I've seen, for me, from a Fijian perspective, I see with Fijians, we try to compare each other by trying to get the best car or trying to get the most clothing or trying to be, someone, someone you're not supposed to be, but you're going over that limit by, by doing comparisons. And with that sort of mentality, I've learned to enhance that, or learn to put into my mindset by not comparing, but also from a spiritual perspective, be content with the things that you have, both physically and spiritually. To laugh more, be happy, be joyful, even in the times of sorrow. Sorrow may endure in the night, but joy comes in the morning. Being thankful, and by driving in that, it makes me hearing podcasts. It makes me really think about just about the spiritual, mental side of things, and life as well in general. Life as well. Like we're not getting any younger. Tima, if you found the fountain of youth, please tell me. But from my views, from my side, I haven't found the fountain of youth. But it's about living. Okay, living one step at a time, living one day at a time, and being thankful for the little things. If you get up and wake up, that's awesome and that's wonderful. But yeah, that's that. Hopefully, I've answered your question correctly, Tima.
You answered my question, like you went over and beyond, so it's good.
Okay.
It's amazing. What has been your biggest learning lesson during the COVID-19 season? You've already touched on that, but if there's anything else you'd like to add,
oh yeah,
be really great.
Love people, love those around you. Like see, when this COVID thing came, you can't hug people, you can't shake their hands. Either you fist bump or elbow bump, or the basics. It's like, man, it's like when you read it, it looks so simple, but it's so powerful. And I've just learned how to love. Like I'm thankful for the Lord's protection over my household. Like my dad, he's in that age range where COVID will strike that age group very, very hard. And I'm thankful he's still alive, and his missus as well. And I'm just thankful, for me and my family. I haven't had any family affected. Of course, my thoughts and prayers to those in India right now, where the COVID is just hitting an extreme rate. Unfortunately, Fiji, there's 42 cases now, and the COVID 42 cases, yep. And the same traces, the same COVID strain is the same as the one in India. So right now there's high level alerts in Fiji, but according to what they said in Melbourne, where they're getting help from, it's we're containing it well, and we're containing in the correct manner. So that's what that's just really concerning right now. And especially on top of that, just really, loving people and appreciating life. And especially funerals. Like, man, I felt for those that died during the pandemic, and there couldn't be like everyone to visit. And island funerals, they're big funerals. And what's the hardest thing I found, Tima, was where people had to choose who can come, who can sit at the funeral, or when it came to a wedding or whatever the case may be. Like I tell you right now, when it came to a Christmas dinner last year, Tima, I was on the waiting list. I was on the waiting list for a Christmas dinner or a Christmas lunch. It was one of my close relatives. I was on the waiting list, but I laughed at it. Because it's like, oh well, if I'm on the waiting list, I'm on the waiting list. So, it makes you really.
It's like, well, now I know where I stand. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, but especially for those at funerals, like you have to choose who can come. It's like, bro, that's hard to. It's like, of course it's the close family, but how about everyone else? And look, maybe people listen, they may be conspiracy theorists, or they may be, but overall, if we take those things out about loving those that are around you, love your family, love those that you value in your life.
Yeah, and I love that. And so even in church, like we're not even I'm Catholic, and so we have to do my whole life I've just used to like shaking everyone's hand, but now we just have to do this. Like everyone's just gone like that, like just.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can't like you can like in your own bubble, but like to everyone else, you just have to go like that. So yeah, it's
wow.
Just, you don't realize
okay.
You don't realize how different it is until you're like actually in church and you're like, can't even say, shake my auntie's hand who's sitting behind me, like, but yeah.
Yeah. And also, I'm not forgetting the 1.5 social distance. Yeah.
Oh, New
It's
Zealand.
like
New Zealand's 2 meters.
what? 2 meters?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
it's like 2 meters.
Okay, cool. Wow, that's something else.
But I'm interested because you're so like, it's evident in the work that you do for Fiji that you're very passionate about your heritage, your culture, where you come from, and I guess the Pacific in general. And for me, like I am very my background is in social work and obviously media and communications and through this as well. And so I love discussing business ideas and also how to link those business ideas with charitable ideas. So I'm interested to know if you could start up a charitable organization that benefits those in the Pacific, what would it be?
Yeah, this question really got me thinking. I was trying to see what.
It was like Tui. I gave Tui a similar question, and he was like, "I thought all day about this," and I was like, "Oh, that's good." Which I really.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. I believe from your perspective and Tui's perspective was about opening a shop. I mean, was that?
I was going to open up a juice bar. I called it a cafe.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell him, but my one is actually just a juice bar. I'm going to tell you because I trust
Yep.
you. You're cool. Because I know that Tui's popular, and if he steals it, then I'm going to be out of business. So I didn't want to tell him. He wants to open up a cafe. I want to open up a juice bar. Just that's like a local juice bar, utilizing all the fruits in the farms and just selling it to tourists in like really humble stores. Like that was my idea. And he wanted to do a cafe.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So the scene that from my perspective, in regards to a charitable organization, how do I do it for me as an individual, either here in Sydney or in the islands, is for me I thought about was just through the Fiji history. Just through the Fiji history page or through that sort of enterprise of expanding it in the way of people sharing their stories and sharing their identity. And in a way, it sort of brings that notion of the 6 degrees of separation, but more closer in a way by giving forth their stories and how their stories can further encourage people to be successful in their own other fields. Like from an educational perspective, I think of Professor Chochi Rabulo, the first professor here in Sydney, Australia, of Pacifica heritage to, be holding a position that is high up, especially in Sydney University. So, so that's my thought.
I watched Professor Chochi's interview this morning. It was on New Zealand radio. He was on the New Zealand radio. Yeah. So
that's I hope I answered correctly, Tima. That's just my thoughts and my views from.
I have an idea for you. You know what you could do? Have you heard of Thank You? It's a brand in Australia, and they sell soap, water, like shampoo, like called Thank You. But anyway, what they do is that I thought with the Fiji history, you've already got the following. How about you collate everyone's stories like into an inspiring book, and people can donate whatever they want, or maybe sell it for like $20 each. So you can imagine if all 60,000 of your followers, or a $5 book, or $2 book, or $3, like that's a lot of money that you could like not only get for your charitable trust, but also for yourself. I don't know, just an idea.
Oh, wow! You know what? You just got me thinking now. You just got me thinking in regards to that. But
be your project manager and like get a cut out of that.
Oh, that's all good. But I wonder how the step for me when it comes to is how would I start? How would I get the books? Or how would I?
No, so basically you can do like ebooks, because ebooks you can do them free through Canva. And it's easy because you just download it straight on your book. I think the startup cost for something like that may be about $300. And
wow.
Yeah, so you just set up the website. You have Shopify in the website, which that's free. Shopify just takes it out of it, and you just get about 12 different stories of different people. And then because I write blogs, that's why I'm interviewing Rock about his business. So I write for the Pacific Business Journal, and basically I get these stories and then I interview them and I turn it into a story. And then what you do is you just turn it into a really inspiring book. And you can have different seasons, you can have different themes. So Fijian rugby players, and then the next theme could be Fijian mothers for Mother's Day, or the next one would be Fijian in the media, like with Rock and
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can sell, and then you can put a portion of those books towards any charity you want in the Pacific, and then of course keep a cut for yourself.
Okay. Wow. We should. I will talk to you off air after this. If you can send me the links. No, that's that's a, you just got me thinking. That's like another branch I can look at as well.
Yeah.
In regards to expansion. Thank you so much, Tima. I appreciate it very much.
That's okay. I mean, I think that's just like my gift from God. Thank God. It's like when someone gives me an idea, I'm like, oh, we could, because I love to think outside the box. And so I just think it's a great idea, and I think Fijians will really get behind it because it aligns with who you are as a person. Because you're into reading, you're into history. It only makes sense to create like an ebook, and it'll be cool. Like, how many Fijians can say that they've been in a book? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Cool.
It'll be an honor.
So that ebook will be compatible rather with iBooks and all that.
Everything. It's so easy. The fact that people don't do it is crazy. But I can definitely message you after this. It'll be a good project for you.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. 100%. Thank you so much, Tima.
Yeah, no, of course. And then if you have like Tui on it, just make sure her story is like really bad. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, no worries.
I'm more than happy to message you after this and like send you like how it's done, because I've done it before.
All right, cool.
Awesome. So what advice would you give to other males out there who struggle to open up, reach out for help, or to talk about their struggles?
Thank you for that, Tima. In regards to that, of course, for me, being a Christian, from a faith perspective, of course, is put your faith in the Lord or so. But of course, not everyone is like that. It's amazing when you mention this question. I remember back in the days, this would not be talked about. For especially Mines Islanders, it was like that tambu. It's like, nah. This is a tough limits. We don't talk about it. It's like, just go to church. Pray, just pray or so. But then we're starting to see this open up, especially amongst the Pacific Island community. About talking about mental health. About the struggles or the challenges they face, about meeting with families' needs. Especially with a family, if you have a family of 12 or 10 plus, it's like, it's a very big challenge. And, it was in regard to that sort of, in regard to mental health or so, speak to people that you trust, people that are encouragement, not a discouragement, people that can lead you to an avenue of lifting you up instead of putting you down, or, try to show you avenues or so to go to seek help, whether it be from the elders of the community or from a church perspective, go visiting your pastor, or so on and so forth. But even from a non-island view, there's other, like here in Australia, they have here Are You OK? So it's about a company, I believe, in regards to mental health. Because I've seen this being raised so many times. Mental health or so, because the saying goes, everything starts at home. And I believe that, as I say again, go to people that are, that are very positive, that can help in some way or some manner. For me, like, I'm always here for family or friends. They share to me, and I always go back to the Word of God. I always go back to the Bible. I always say, I pray with them and for them to help them, guide them through. But like, it's been risen like never before. And by that being risen, there must be a way to deal with it. And especially in social science, what I'm learning right now at Western Sydney Uni is about researching these sort of things, how to deal with it, how to overcome it, how to create avenues or so for people to speak. Because, like, for me, being an islander, but not only as an islander, but as a boy, if you spoke up, like as like playing, like being like a rugby player, so it's, oh, you're too weak, oh, you're soft, oh, you're nothing, those add colorful words, beep, 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 they will have these sort of words or so to try and, but we've seen it more like, especially rugby players, rugby league players. Like, unfortunately, a couple of years ago in France, I believe it was in France, one Fijian hung himself. He hung himself, a rugby player, committed suicide because of the pressure, the mental health, because like with Fiji, like I love all my family in Fiji, or in the islands. But sometimes they think we live with us living here in Australia, New Zealand, that we have a lot of money. We have so much income. They think we're millionaires. But they have to realize, hold on, we have to pay for rent, electricity, phone bill, internet, month Netflix, or those things. We have to look after the household here. And they have to realize that. Like for me, sometimes for me, sometimes I sometimes get frustrated when a family member just all of a sudden messages me and say, "Oh, can I have $200 or $100?" And it's like, where's the how are you? How are things? It's not straight to the question, because they have to understand that we come, we have expenses to meet as well. Like a classic example was here in I think it was Samoan or Tongan, where he said it in a humorous way, where he said families back in the islands, they're more better than the FBI or the CIA. Because even when we change our number, still they find our number. Still they trace us back. They track us down. So, there are many other things, many episodes in regards to mental health. And it is unfortunate. It is sad that mental health is raising. It's been risen up. It's shown the effects of it. But we're going to do our part as the island community to try and do our part in combating that and in trying a way to try and minimize it to the best of our abilities or so. So, especially when for me, mental health as well, like, seeing islanders end up in jail. For me, like for me, this is from my perspective, it's like, the influence of what they see on TV, being, like having to say, oh, gangster or streetish. And, it's like, bro, your parents came from the islands to here to give you a better living, not to be raised up like some, like wannabe on what you see on TV or gangster thug or that, but they came in to give you a better opportunity to live a life that they didn't live or to have the positions they didn't have. Like I still remember when my parents shared a story when they used to see, toys that, by outside, but they couldn't afford it because, it was expensive. And it's just about doing our part. Like for me, once again, if I was to go back to your original question, of course, I'll guide them through the word, but also, go to people that you can trust, people that are, that are well known in these areas. Or there's hotlines right now. I don't know, probably New Zealand, but also here in Australia. So hopefully I've answered that, Tima, respectfully.
That's really great. I love that, and I hope that any males who listen to this will benefit from that. What is your go-to scripture when you're going through a hard time?
Oh yeah, just the scriptures I mentioned before, Philippians 4:13 and Proverbs 3:5-6. Those are my key scriptures I apply. Of course, there are other scriptures as well in the Word of God that I go through, but those are the main ones that help me, every day. And every day as I go on, as I live and breathe on this planet that God wonderfully made. And, just even at times, by applying the scriptures, times as an individual, we look forward and see how far we've got to go. But at times we've got to turn around and see how far we have come. So by seeing, that is how I apply myself every day. Like if I was to go back, if I was to add more to that, Tima, especially with those scriptures and with my testimony as well, God has, I paid off my car this year. Talking about financial debts, finances, yes, I still got another 2 more. But that when that burden of the car was paid off, I kid you not, Tim, was like a burden just went off my shoulders. It was like I can breathe somehow. It's like, because when I was doing Uber was more mandatory, wasn't optional. I had to do Uber to pay off the car because paying all this off, paying all that. And by paying that off, now Uber isn't optional. So, and also on top of that, Tima, like with this car, it's a 2014 Toyota Orion model. And what really motivated me, especially with the scriptures, by paying off this car was back in the 90s. My mom and dad, they bought a Rap 1994 model. Rap 1994 model, brand new, $20,000. But guess what? They couldn't pay it off. It got repossessed. So when I got this car, when I got my car, I was saying to the Lord, it says, I can do all things through Christ to strengthen me. I don't want this car to be repossessed. I don't want to see it go. I don't want to, So by applying the word in my life and just by working hard and, 5 years later, back in 2016, as of February, the car's paid off. And just see that I thank the Lord for it. I'm still got some debt on me, but it's not as bad as before. So it's all about, just keeping focused, maintaining a good attitude, applying the scriptures once again by trusting the Lord, not leaning on to my own understanding. And at times I failed, Tima. I failed on not leaning on the Lord's understanding. I failed on leaning on my own understanding, trying to do my way, And I'm just thankful for him guiding me through. And that's the scriptures I've applied in my life. And to anyone that's listening, and hopefully they've listened this far, that's how far that I've come by applying the word of God in my life. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do these things, It's all about the basics, the one percenters. It's like going back to the All Blacks. The reason why the All Blacks are so good, because they just do the basics so good. It's just by doing the one percenters. And by that analogy and applying in my life, it's just by doing the basics, reading, praying, fasting, and just by doing that part and just by doing that role, it has helped me and guided me throughout these years. And if those scriptures are the same as yours, praise God. If they're not, then add them to your scriptures as well. So yeah, that's me, Tima.
I love that, and you know what? Everything that you've said just in that answer alone, it just shows me that you've got so much gratitude towards life. And like for me, when I paid off my car in 2015, that was my old car. When I paid that off, like it wasn't anything to me. I was just like, oh, finally. Like I didn't think much of it, but now I'm like, really, that was my first ever car. Every other car my parents have provided for me. So that's really cool, and I'm glad that you're at this age and you're at this stage of your life and you're still filled with that much gratitude. So it's really beautiful to see. It's to listen to as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate so much. And look, and even on top of that, Tim, I just commend you. I know I've said this so many times on a repetitive basis, but I commend you what you're doing for your community, for your Samoan community, by doing this podcast. And especially, I still remember you had ambitions of going to Fiji, and I thank you for that as well.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was driving through. I wanted to live there. I want to live it's my dream to live in the island. Not so much Samoa yet. Like I do want to live in Samoa eventually, but not yet. I want to start off in Fiji, but also because I saw all the stores. Like when you're driving through, you see all the people, have fruits. But I don't want to eat the fruits. I want to drink a smoothie. So I thought I spent the whole year coming up with this model where how can we provide create like a juice bar for tourists that passing through. It was a good idea. Obviously, I can't pursue it right now, but I will one day. Yeah, so it's exciting. But I'll be in Sydney Friday the 8th of October, one-way ticket. So it's exciting, new chapter.
Oh, you're coming out to live here?
Yeah. So Friday the 8th of October. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's because 2 days later is Fiji Day.
Oh.
So yes, it'll be a 50.
I can tag along with someone. Like it'll be really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's good to hear, Tima.
Yeah, no, one-way ticket. So stepping into a new chapter in life, and
yep.
Making that change. So thankfully a friend is putting me up. So her and her husband are putting me up for a bit. So that's exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah. What is your favorite restaurant in Sydney?
Oh man, favorite restaurant. Have you heard of Rush's?
It's not exciting here in New Zealand. The eatery scene, it's not.
Well, prior to Rush's, there was a thing called Sizzlers. Sizzlers was your main place to go to. They had the cheese toast bread. There was a mixture between a buffet and a restaurant. Yeah. So you can do a bit of both. So since that's gone, it's like Russia is the main thing. If not, it's your local, it's the RSL clubs in the West that have all the buffets. So as we islanders, we love our food, and when it's buffet, bro, it's like open the doors, man. So that's me. But
yeah, I'll be in Liverpool. My friend lives in Liverpool, and she's she's always at the buffets. She's always at restaurants, and I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I love food.
And on top of that as well, one thing I love about New Zealand, Tima, is that you guys have Wendy's. So I'm sorry, because when I was in America, when I was in the US in 2013, they had Wendy's. And when I came up to Auckland, when I was in Auckland, so I've been to Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch. So when I went to Auckland and I saw Wendy's, bro, my heart, like my mouth nearly touched the floor, because Wendy's is a big thing in the States.
Yeah. I can't stand Wendy's. Do you know when you were in the States? Now we'll finish the podcast. I'll just keep chatting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just like, because you're pretty cool to talk to. So did you feel like the food was quite processed? Because I remember when we landed in LA, and my auntie, she bought a milkshake, and it was just powder at the bottom and water at the top.
100%, Tima. Not only for me, not only heavily processed, but bro, the quantities they serve it in, it's crazy. Yeah. like like a small over there is probably a large here. And I remember when I went to when my auntie dropped me at the bus stand at San Fran, I was going back to LA. I asked my auntie. My auntie asked me, "Oh, son, do you want a drink?" And I said, "Yeah, I want a Slurpee. So I want a frozen drink." And she said, "Oh, what size?" "Yeah, yeah. So what size?" I said, I'll have a large." He said, "Don't worry, I'll get you a jumbo." No joke, Tima. She came back with jumbo. It was like equivalent to a 2 liter bottle of Coke.
Exactly.
I was like, bro, how am I gonna finish this up? How many calories in this this cup? And the biggest mistake I made, Tima, that I ate so much when I came back, most of my clothes I couldn't fit into.
Yeah,
So yeah, and then unfortunately I did not shred the case. I ended up gaining more and more, but yeah, I gotta get back onto the training regime once again.
Yeah. No, good on you. Yeah, no, the food in America is just so badly processed. And Wendy's, yeah, the Baconator is my favorite, but it's not my go-to. My go-to. I've never tried Hungry Jack's before, so I'm excited to try that. Yeah.
My recommendation, Tima, try the ultimate double whopper.
Okay, ultimate double whopper. I'll remember that.
Cool. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Do you do Uber Eats or just Uber?
Just Uber, but also I do Menulog. So Menulog is my key to one. So just 2 days before my birthday, I thank the Lord that I went to 200 deliveries.
Woo!
Yeah, so yep, 200 deliveries, but 200 tempting deliveries. Because I kid you not, Tima, when the food goes in the car, when you can smell it, so my Lord.
That was my question. Do you get tempted to just like open the bag, grab one chip?
No, you know what they do? They staple it.
Oh right, yeah, they do. Yeah.
Because before it wasn't stapled, but I think a year ago, a couple of years ago, or even months ago, one driver was caught by the CCTV of getting a chip out of the bag and eating it. Yeah. So yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, and there was also another one. But it's a bad one where someone took a photo of a Menulog driver or Uber driver sitting in the toilet doing his business, but he had the bag in front of him in the toilet. Oh, bro. That's bro. So, yeah.
I'm getting Uber Eats ever.
Yeah, so that's why I've done with Uber, I've done over 1,700 rides starting 2016. Now I can do it optional. It was before, as I said before, it was mandatory. I had to do it. But I'm thankful that it's optional because I tell you now, Tima, with night shift, some of the people are picking up, like they've all been good customers, but it's just after they had a few drinks or if they get intimate with their partner. When I mean intimate, they can be over intimate, and it's like, excuse me, guys, you're in the car, you're in my car, you're not in the house, you're not in the unit. You know, there's been a case like that, and I had to literally swerve the car to stop them doing what they were doing. So yeah, do apologize. Yeah, I know. So I had to,
appropriate. Have you ever picked up Tui on a night out? Because I saw his Uber's his stories, and he's always talking to the Uber driver and asking him.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of, Tima, because it's like a plague. He's passed it to his other friends, and I'm worried right now if they say, "How's your day going, boss?" And it's like, "Oh, bro, I don't answer it, because it all started from Tui."
Yeah. That's when you just like throw colorful words at them and be like, "If you Tui."
No.
Yeah.
Well, if it's F humans, I forgive you, Tui, not the other one.
Okay. No, thank you so much. It's been time has gone by so quickly. This has been a long podcast, and
how long has it gone?
Almost 2 hours. So.
Oh my gosh, Tima, my apologies. So.
It's fine. I love it. It's fine. Because I love to talk as well. And so,
yep.
For anyone that's made it this far on the podcast, I hope you have enjoyed it. And I'll definitely encourage more people to watch, because you've dropped some really good truth bombs, some great wisdom, and some gems. So I'm really grateful, and I'm thankful to Tui, even though I'm a little bit annoyed at him, for connecting us. And I'm really grateful, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in real life later on in the year. So it's exciting.
No worries, Tima. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and also it's a privilege and honor to be on this podcast amongst other guests that you've interviewed as well. And I will remember this as the years go by. You're my first podcast that I've actually gone on to as a guest, So you have the bragging rights as the first person. So yeah. So I do hope that it opens up to other opportunities as well. If not, I'll stay humble and see if other opportunities do come by. But at the moment, I just want to bask in this one and be thankful for that I've shared my story on this podcast and shared my story to hopefully encourage or inspire someone. And if they reach this far, especially when I'm now talking at the conclusion of this interview, I just hope that you've taken something out of this, whether it be a particular sentence I've said, a statement, a paragraph, a story, or even the whole thing, that you've been encouraging someone that knowing that we as islanders, Pacifica people, Melanesian, Polynesian, Micronesian, that we can achieve when we believe, and that we don't have to hold the stereotypical views of just being a factory worker or a sports worker. We can achieve in the military field, academic field, sporting field, any field. We may be small in size, but we can make an impact globally.
Thank you so much. And I'm so, again, very grateful that you've made time for my podcast, and I'm also looking forward to exploring the book idea that I shared before, because I think
yes, please do.
So for sure, I'll be in your DMs very soon. So it's not a goodbye; it's a I'll talk to you later. So
thank you so much, Tim. Appreciate it.
Cruz. I appreciate you.
All right,
Bye,
thank you, everyone.
Cruz. Bye.
Yeah, bye.